Greetings, welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing climate change, abrupt climate change, and things adjacent. And I just want to bring you one quick article today. Actually, first, I want to bring you this graph, which has been making the rounds of Facebook. It was first brought to my attention from Nick Humphrey. And I've seen a few other people post it, but that's just insane. If you've seen that graph, that's very frightening. So I want to bring you this article from the Washington Post from yesterday. Temperatures leap 40 degrees above normal as the Arctic Ocean and Greenland ice sheet see record June melting. And let me get into this. And it may be messing with our weather. That's the upshot. Ice is melting in unprecedented ways as summer approaches in the Arctic. In recent days, observations have revealed a record-challenging melt event over the Greenland ice sheet. While the extent of ice over the Arctic Ocean has never been this low, in mid-June during the age of weather satellites, Greenland saw temperatures soar up to 40 degrees above normal Wednesday, while open water exists in places north of Alaska where it seldom, if ever, has in recent times. It's another series of extreme events consistent with the long-term trend of warming, changing Arctic, said Zachary Labe, a climate researcher at the University of California at Irvine. And the abnormal warmth and melting of ice in the Arctic may be messing with our weather, do you think? Data. So this is kind of another graph, but it's obscured by these other surface melt kind of things here. But this, if you can see, this blue line is what was shown in the other graph that I showed you, was the red line. Data from the National Snow and Ice Data Center show that the Greenland ice sheet appears to have witnessed its biggest melt event so early in the season on record this week, although a few other years showed similar mid-June melting. The melting is big and early, said Jason Box, an ice climatologist at the Geological Survey of Denmark and Greenland. Box explained that temperatures over the western Greenland ice sheet have been abnormally high, while snow has been well below normal. So here you can see this orange is the surface melt, no melt. Which one is bigger? It's a race. Marco Tedesco, an ice researcher at Columbia University, added that it has been unusually warm in east and central Greenland as well. This has triggered widespread melting that has reached about 45% of the ice sheet. Normally, melting this widespread over the ice sheet doesn't occur until midsummer, if even then. A simulation from the European Center for Medium-Range Weather Forecasting suggested that temperatures over Greenland may have peaked at around 40 degrees above normal on Wednesday. That's a lot of degrees. A big dome of high pressure has positioned itself over Greenland, resulting in sunny skies and mild temperatures, which have enabled melting. An automated weather station at the top of Greenland's ice sheet topped freezing on June 12th, a very rare event which last occurred in July 2012. 2012 is the notorious year in which Greenland ice sheet witnessed the most melting on record. Those monitoring the ice sheet say melting in 2019 could rival it. Weather in the coming months will determine how much more the ice sheet melts and whether 2019 is a record setter. If high pressure holds in place, we should break a new record, tweeted Xavier Vetwijs, a climatologist at the University of Liège in Belgium. I hope I'm not pronouncing that incorrectly. I probably am. But scientists studying the region know that Greenland's weather is highly variable and can change rapidly. Mike McFerrin, a glaciologist at the University of Colorado, put it this way in a tweet: 2019 has been anomalous so far, but also quite variable. It's early and weather is weather, so keep your eyes peeled. Here's another very scary graph: Arctic Basin Sea Ice. So here are the last few years, stragglers down here. And here we are, 2019, big red, scary line, way below previous low ice extent. Weather satellites have monitored sea ice in the Arctic since 1979, and the current ice coverage is the lowest on record for mid-June. The ice extent has been especially depleted in the part of the Arctic Ocean adjacent to the Pacific Ocean. It's pretty remarkable how much open water is in that area, Labe said. Labe explained high pressure over the Arctic has helped to pull sea ice away from the northern Alaska coast. Okay, check this out. And again, I'm going to show this a little bigger. Here is 2018, big red scary line. Here's 2019. Ooh, the green is just headed straight down. Again, the irony of this year possibly being the year that we get a blue ocean event would not be lost on a lot of people. And it could be any moment. It could be this year, it could be next year. Most definitely will be in the next few years, if it isn't this year or next year. Sea ice loss over the Chukchi and Beaufort Seas along Alaska's northern coast has been unprecedented, according to Rick Toman, climatologist based in Fairbanks. Labe said there's sufficient open water that you could sail all the way from the Bering Strait into a narrow opening just north of Utvik, Alaska's northernmost city, clear into the Beaufort Sea. It's very unusual for open water this early in this location. With all of that exposed water, ocean temperatures in this region will rise, Labe said. This should delay the customary fall freeze and will likely result in a historically low late summer sea ice minimum, typically in mid-September. Whether the Arctic sea ice minimum is record-setting like the Greenland ice sheet will depend on weather in the coming months. There's no indication that this year will be as low as 2012, when Arctic sea ice reached its lowest extent on record, Labe said. There's no indication it will be as low as 2000. Okay. If cloudy weather occurs, it would slow down the rate of melting. It's really hard to predict. The extreme conditions in the Arctic, which have resulted in these record-challenging melt events, have far-reaching implications. There's a saying often repeated by Arctic researchers: what happens in the Arctic doesn't stay in the Arctic. You can credit that to Paul Beckwith. The bulging zones of high pressure in the Arctic, which have facilitated the unusual warmth and intensified melting, are displacing the cold air normally contained in that region into the mid-latitudes like a refrigerator door left open. Much of the central and eastern United States have seen lower than normal temperatures in the past week. The jet stream, the high altitude current separating cold air and warm air, has taken unusually erratic meanders. The jet stream this week was one of the craziest I've ever seen, Jennifer Francis, one of the leading researchers who has published studies connecting Arctic change and mid-latitude weather, wrote in an email. Francis had earlier suggested that conditions in the Arctic may have played a role in the extreme jet stream pattern that spurred the tornado swarm and record flooding. I think she's onto something there. In the central U.S. during the last 2 weeks of May. We can't say that the rapid Arctic warming is causing this particular pattern, but it certainly is consistent with that, Francis, senior scientist at Woods Hole Research Center, said. And that is that for this article. Very frightening things happening in the Arctic right now. Everybody's paying attention. The sea ice is in very bad shape. The extent is lower than ever. We have a 40-degree temperature anomaly. Doesn't get much larger than that. I guess it could get larger than that, but that's pretty dang large. So, hold tight. Keep an eye on the Arctic. I know a lot of people are sending me links of Climate Reanalyzer and showing me the jet stream and whatnot. And I know it's going absolutely berserk right now. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. Until next time, peace.